So this question is a diagram question. Any question with visual input or that contains a visual, I should say, I'm going to call a diagram question. So what that means to me is I actually start by looking at the diagram and understanding what it shows before reading the actual question itself. Looks like we have two columns here. One says live east of the river. The other says live west of the river. And then we have two rows, less than 40 years old, at least 40 years old. And of course, we have these totals here in the last column and in the last row. So using what I call the pinpoint method, I'm going to circle this 89 here. And that number represents that there are 89 people, I assume, who are at least 40 years old and live west of the river, right? So because I'm able to interpret what that 89 means, I'm pretty sure I can interpret what the 17 and the 11 and the 18 mean. And then, of course, these numbers here are just totals across the row. For instance, there are a total of 18 people less than 40 years old. There's a total of 107 people that are at least 40 years old. And of course, these numbers are just the totals down the column. So again, I'm pretty sure I completely understand the table. The question goes on to say, the table summarizes members of a local organization by age and whether they live east or west of the river. If a member of the organization is selected at random, very important, what is the probability, also very important, that the selected member is at least 40 years old? So probability on this test is always going to be a fraction. The numerator is what you want. So in this case, what do we want? We want the randomly selected member to be at least 40 years old. Well, how many people are at least 40 years old? 107, right? 107 people are at least 40 years old. So over here, I'm going to write 107 as my numerator. The denominator for probability is always what you have, right? Or what you're choosing from. The total number, in this case, the total number of people you're choosing from. So in this case, the total number of people we're choosing from would be the 135, right? Because there's 135 total people, including those who are less than 40 years old and those who are at least 40 years old. So that becomes my denominator, 107 over 135. And therefore, the correct answer here is choice D.